world. She's coached over 100 people across 6 countries on how to attain and retain this clarity. Her Dutch background, coupled with her double masters in biology and environmental science, makes her the perfect person to enable you to uncomplicate your life. Eve is here to speak to us tonight about how to provide you with insight in the face of overwhelm and what to do about it. Please join me in welcoming EveBroenland.
Every 2 days, as a society, we now create more data than we did for our entire civilization up to 2013. Wow. I'm EveBroenland, I'm a simplicity expert, and that pretty much means I help people's lives making less complicated. Because do you sometimes feel overwhelmed with everything you've got going on?
Yes.
I know. We make about 30,000 decisions every day. And we are surrounded by ever-increasing information and options, and that can be overwhelming. Because with all that information out there, we need to navigate on how to process that. But then also, how you make the right decisions that work for you. I have found that it is essential that you know how to unclog. Unclogging is taking control of your life by getting rid of what is blocking you. Because research shows us, research shows us that unlimited choices does not make you happy. We believe that with our freedom of choice and making our own decisions based in line with our own individual preferences, that's going to increase our happiness. And our whole entire economic market is completely adapted to that. They provide you with all the options out there to suit your needs. Because this is what you see every week when you walk into the supermarket. On average, supermarkets now carry 42,000 different products. And Starbucks proudly advertises a choice between 80,000 different drinks combinations.
Oh my Lord.
That leads to 2 things: decision paralysis and disappointment. Because with so many options out there, how do you make the right choice if you're already even able to make a choice? So I lived in a remote town in WA about 8 years ago. And the supermarket there, the community was only 100 people, and the supermarket there, when it was open, only stocked about 2 choices of milk, 4 different types of chocolate, and if you're lucky on truck delivery day, you could maybe choose between 5 different ice creams. It was that simple. Because after I finished my 2 masters in the Netherlands, that's where I'm coming from, and hence the clogging, and I finished my 2 masters, and I was able to get my first job as the environmental advisor for a salt mine in one of the most beautiful places in the world. I lived in Eustace Loop on a salt mine in Shark Bay World Heritage Area. It was an absolute privilege to live there. And I remember driving into Shark Bay for the first time, and my husband was looking over at me when we were driving, and there were just tears of joy coming down my cheeks, because it was just overwhelming beauty, and I really, really loved living there, and it was an absolute privilege. It was also very simple. And what happened, the company promoted, I could live there for the rest of my life, but my career goals led me to Perth, because the company promoted me to environmental manager. And I was super stoked, because this is what I studied for, this is what I wanted to do, and I was really, really happy, and it was a super exciting opportunity. Fast forward to Wednesday, 6th of March, 2014. It is the day before I turned 32. Now, after living in Perth for 2 years, it wasn't that exciting anymore. Work got really busy. We had social activities, sports activities, and my husband and I even started our own business, running a martial arts school while both still working full-time. And quite often on a Sunday afternoon, I'd be in tears, feel overwhelmed, and just honestly quite lost. And I can't say that the morning commutes felt any better either. And I didn't know where these moments of complete overwhelm and happiness came from, and I thought perhaps they were hormonal. So on this day before my birthday, I took the afternoon off to go and see a naturopath, because I thought maybe she could help me. As I walk in, I get greeted with a beautiful warm smile, and she sits me down. And she, without any judgment, "Why are you here? What's going on? What do you do?" And besides the mood swings that I tell her about, my life is fantastic. I've got a great job, like a well-paying job. I studied 7 years for it. I'm really proud of it. I love my house. I love my dogs. I've got a wonderful husband. And I've got family and friends around me that support me. And about 20 minutes in the conversation, who would you be if we would strip away those achievements? I was completely taken back, and I did not know how or what to answer. And tears started running down my face. At that moment, I realized my environment was never going to make me happy. But it was up to me. And that's what I started doing. I started to unclog my own life, my own journey. I started to find out about who I really am and what is essential to me and what is important to me, and get rid of what isn't of value to me. Because why do we need to unclog? If you think, or if you have that feeling where things aren't working well for you, and you wish that things would be different, that is your sign. Do you know that the French word for clog is sabot? Very good. So it actually stems from the industrialization era, where Dutch woodworkers put clogs in the machines that their employers purchased, so they literally sabotaged the machines so they could keep their jobs. And that is all unclogging about. It's about stop sabotaging yourself. Because we sabotage ourselves. Why do we sabotage ourselves? We're not clear about what is important to us, and we let the environment control us. And that leads to two things. You keep too many options, and that causes you that overwhelm, and you're not aligning your actions with your beliefs. And both those things are making you unhappy. So tonight, I'll teach you how to unclog. That's the simple way. And it actually requires a little bit more effort. So I want to tell you how you can unclog. So your life, rather than a clogged drain, it will feel light and in flow and at ease. So this is the current cycle that you're in, if you're clogged. So you have a certain way that you're thinking. And if you can see, the arrows are pointing actually in your opposite direction because you're going against the flow. That thinking leads to, because you have a certain belief system, that leads to your view you have of the world. That view then leads to the actual things that you do. So your thinking leads to your perspective, which leads to the actions and the things you do. And that continues. So you think, you view, and you do, and that continues. And it's a habitual and maybe a subconscious cycle that is going on. But you can flip that around. And let's start from the top again. Rethink. Rethinking is all about committing to understanding yourself more. Figure out what is important to you. Take time for that. And also become more aware of what's actually going on in your mind. Because when you get more awareness of what's going on in your mind, that clarity will help you to make better decisions. And you can actively work towards creating more positive thoughts. Because Mary Poppins used to say, in every job there must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun and snap, the job's a game. And it's that simple. It's not easy, but positive psychologists refer to that as learned optimism. And I really challenge you to put that into practice. Then it's redoing. Redoing is all about different actions. It is now time to align your actions with your beliefs. Because knowledge is worthless if you don't put it into action. So everything you've learned about yourself, about that rethinking, now time to put that in action. One of the things that, as a simplicity expert, I can recommend you to do is assess your physical belongings. What you have surrounded yourself with from your environment. That is a reality check. And be real with yourself there. Because perhaps you're holding on to goals that you set for yourself in your 20s. Or you're holding on to hobbies that you perhaps don't have time for anymore. Be real with yourself here. So redoing is all about putting into practice what you know about yourself. And then the last step, review. Take time to step back. Give yourself some space to reflect, pause, and celebrate. Give yourself maybe 10 to 15 minutes every day that you do something that lights you up. Not only will that recharge you and make sure that you stay in this cycle and not in a previous cycle, because you need to recharge yourself, but it will also create that contentment. So give yourself that space. So reviewing is all about that commitment to taking care of yourself. So with these 3 simple steps of unclogging, you can be in control of your environment rather than your environment controlling you. Things will align with you. Your decisions will be easier because your options will automatically have been reduced. So rethink, redo, review. And with that, you will be able to have a more simple life, less complicated, and less overwhelming. That is what unclogging does. You can take control of your thinking, of your actions, and take care of yourself, and that will give you the control of your life. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you, Eve. Now that's certainly story showing, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? It's one way to evoke emotion and inspire transformation. And that's a lovely segue to our second speaker, who I'm thrilled to introduce. Now this individual speaks about what he faced in a religious cult and how he escaped, all of which is covered in his gripping autobiography. He has been featured on national ABC TV, Four Corners, and you cannot say that